Hello, everybody. Welcome to Illuminate 2021. My name is Bruno. I'm a founding VP of Strategy. I've been here since 2010, beginning of Sumo. I am really excited today to have all of you join us, and I'm excited to have SAP join us here on stage with Dan Dycus and Michael Basil, who are going to talk about the business of Fieldglass at SAP. Welcome, Michael. Welcome, Dan. How are you guys doing today?
Doing great, Bruno. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, really good. Great to be here.
Excellent. So I would like to start for the audience and myself to learn a little bit more about the business of Fieldglass. Can you tell us a little bit about what is Fieldglass? What does it do for your customers? Why does it matter to SAP?
Certainly. So Fieldglass started back in 1999. I've been with them since 2007. And their primary business is focused on delivering contingent workforce management for its customers. So basically, they help manage large-scale projects, the temporary workforce, and all the costs associated with running those projects end to end.
So how has the growth been? Has Fieldglass been a growth business for SAP?
Yeah, definitely. So growth patterns, of course, shift over time. And we're currently seeing a lot of demand outside of our existing areas of business currently. Fieldglass in the past has really ran all of its business out of US and European Union areas for all of our global customers. And now we're seeing a sharp rise in data residency requirements from our customers, and that's driving us to have to make investments in standing up instances in those regions directly.
Excellent, excellent. So I want to talk a little bit more about the actual business of Fieldglass. You know, I imagine that this is a kind of a mission-critical application that serves your customers, business processes of hiring and managing external workforces. How do you guys at Fieldglass think about reliability? How important is reliability? And when I talk about reliability, I talk about, availability, performance, security of this application, right? How do you think about it? How do your customers think about it? What do they expect? Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, certainly. Availability and performance are two primary KPIs. Today, we strive for 99.97 availability at minimum. Last year, we achieved 99.99%.
Wow.
So we're pretty proud of that. And our average page time needs to be rendered in under 2 seconds. So that's certainly very, very important to us. And while a lot of our customer integrations levels vary, we've had cases where if our application is down, employees can't get indoors of the building they work in. So it's very important for us to have strong availabilities for our customers.
Yeah, and I would just add, past the metrics, reliability, you think about the customer experience, like excellence and building trust with our partners inside and outside of SAP that drive us forward.
Got it. Yeah, no, I mean, reliability seems to be more and more important as we kind of move further and further in digitally serving our customers. And it makes sense. We experience that ourselves as well. I'm curious, sort of given that it is so important, do you have specific measurements, KPIs, SLIs, SLOs that you manage to as you run your business? Kind of what are those signals that tell you that something's up or things are all okay?
Yeah, I think those signals, just like the workloads, are changing as we kind of are making this transition into the hyperscalers, where now rather than having traditional VMs and servers running on premise, we have Kubernetes-based workloads running in hyperscalers, which oftentimes have different signals that we need to learn to pay attention to. And it's been really important for us to be able to extend observability of those components directly to the owners inside the business who need those metrics to do their job best.
I'd love to hear how you guys think of security for Fieldglass application. How important is security to you, to your customers? How do things like GDPR and CCPA play into it? Maybe just tell us a little bit about how you think about that and how you manage it.
Yeah, certainly. So many of our customers are Fortune 500 and above. We deal with ISO, SOC, C5, a litany of different frameworks around compliance and security requirements for our operations. We really find that it takes a vast number of tools to orchestrate all that data in a way that makes it meaningful for compliance and evidence collections. But for our customers, security is top of mind and certainly critical for our business.
And I would just add, when you say like how important is something, that evidence that Dan mentioned is very important, of course, but you can also see it in our behaviors or communities of practice. It's in every group, it's in every conversation. It's something that is not an afterthought. It is a proactive, driver for every component we have, every part of the stack and layer. So it's, it's just always at the front of our mind, and how important that is for ourselves and our customers.
It's not surprised at all with those answers. It's really, we as a business ourselves also experience it that way. Our customers really care about security, so I'm not at all surprised to hear that. Before we deep dive into your methodologies of how you manage these workloads, I would love to understand, and I would love our audience to hear from you a little bit about sort of the architecture of this Fieldglass application. How is it architected? Where does it run? Is it a cloud-based app? Does it straddle clouds and on-prem? Tell us a little bit about that, and then we can go deeper a little bit about sort of what is the tech stack underneath that once you kind of tell us the high levels.
Yeah, absolutely. So Fieldglass traditionally is run on-prem inside of SAP owned and operated data centers. It's been based on VMware, Windows, and SQL backend with a Java application from its inception. And recently, we've transitioned into hyperscaler presence, and we've just started to stand up our production instances there for going live Q3 actually this year. So now we're talking about being based out of Kubernetes and running in the hyperscalers. It vastly changes the game on alerting, monitoring, observability in general.
In this next phase, we're talking about Kubernetes. That's in everything that we do. So that becomes a foundation for us. In our opinionated view, when we think of Kubernetes and how we apply it to multiple regions, multiple hyperscalers, the Gartner project with the Cloud Native Compute Foundation, SAP is a lead on that project. That really speaks to a lot of our opinionation. We use a lot of what you may expect in Kubernetes CI/CD patterns, of course, and then we move more and more to our lifecycle management of running clusters through GitOps, powered by the Argo. The Argo project, great project, and of course, we rely heavily on our eventing and collaboration, through GitHub.
Got it. Interesting. And Dan, you mentioned hyperscalers. Are we talking multi-cloud here? Are we talking single cloud now? Is multi-cloud in now, and is that in a plan?
Multi-cloud is our approach straight out of the beginning of our project. We've been working on for a few years now. But from the beginning, we were focused on making sure we could run in any hyperscaler so that we could service any region, any customer. As you kind of learn, as you begin to migrate workloads, not every region has access to every provider, and you need to be able to run on any of them. So we have a very loosely coupled, low dependency design that has very low dependency on native backing services in those providers.
Fascinating. Look, I can't not ask this question. You guys are going through a major transformation. Like you're going from, starting, in the data center, moving to the cloud, actually to multi-cloud. You're going from, VM architecture to Kubernetes. There's a massive amount of transformation architecturally here. Why? Why are you doing that? What is the driver behind this change?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. But I think Fieldglass learned as we started to face increasing scaling demands that our legacy model of operations and deployment, just general management of security constraints in the environment was just too much to handle with the staff we had, and we would not be able to scale the staff to follow that same type of architecture into the future. Kubernetes had just been getting started, and we decided we were going to start to embark on that. Then we took a large portion of our staff and started to convert them as soon as we could. And that involved, to some extent, parking the legacy environment and putting it into an operations mode and really focusing a lot of that attention forward on a platform that we wouldn't be able to leverage for a couple of years, So it was quite an investment on the business side. And we're just starting to reap the rewards and starting to see some of the operational efficiencies and benefits for our customers.
Yeah.
And I would just add, so when you think of why, and it's like, well, why Kubernetes? Like that's the lingua franca, right? So that becomes a really portable, runtime, and that's valuable for the business, so we can, go where our customers want to be for the privacy and all kinds of different reasons that are important to them.
Yeah, definitely makes sense. Makes sense to me. And as I talk to other enterprises, they're making similar decisions for similar reasons, obviously. Like we all need to scale more, we all need to have more flexibility, more agility and all of that. I'm curious, as you go through this massive amount of change on the architecture technology side, can you maybe touch on how does this impact your teams? How does it impact your culture, right? This isn't just about tech, it's about people too. And in fact, without people, we can't do any of these things. How have you guys handled that? What challenges have you faced? How have you addressed those challenges?
Yeah, certainly. So I've been in the business for 25 years, and this transition was like breaking bones for the department we had in place prior. So it's definitely a drastic shift for us, but I would definitely hand this one to Mike to comment on more.
Sure. So yeah, the way we think about change, we think about where we're at, like what's the current state, and then where we want to be, and then what it's going to take, what the impediments are, what the sediments are, and we really work through that. So the way we approach it is we focus on, we contrast, at the technology level. What do we have today? We have infrastructure engineers, on-prem infrastructure engineers. What do we need? Our intention is to create Kubernetes. That's how we decided, right? So we created, learning pathways, right? And we focus on technology. What else are we going to need? Well, everything is code. Okay, well, everybody's really got to understand Git and like from an opinionation about, embracing open source and inner source principles, right? Okay, that's great. How are we going to work? Well, we're going to commit further and deeper into agile methodology. Okay, great. How are we going to do that? It's a great learning pathway there. Okay, this is all fine. This is a lot of change. How are we going to get people through this? What's going to take? It's going to take a mindset shift. Our attitudes are going to have to change. We're going to have to look at change as something we seek to, right, and not avoid. And, so to make this fun, right, that's what's going to be important. People get really engaged when they're in a fun experience. We created a learning dojo, which is a learning community of practice. And, the NoOps dojo has been, really helpful. It exists today. There's, our SAP Next Talent program still layers into it, and other groups utilize it as well. But, it's like the learning pathways and then a community approach. We have a lot of sparring conversations. We learn, we talk, the communities of practice for support, and then we keep working through this. And there's never an end. It's always a continual change as we keep progressing through this journey. So that's how we approach it. Dan, I don't know if there's anything you'd want to add to that, but I know that change is really important, and it impacts not just the engineers, but the executives and all the different support groups that are around us.
Yeah, this topic really gets my mind racing, honestly, with different things to speak to. But it was important for us to put what we called people increments first and really get through the learning. Gamification was very important to us, but we knew it was more important to teach our legacy IT staff to be more about development life cycle than it was to really dive straight into the technical underpinnings of Kubernetes and hyperscalers, because that was the hardest transition for us to make.
Wow, yeah, look, it's really interesting when you bring this up, as, Michael, what you were saying about this is an organizational change, not just a product engineering, IT change. It's a change that the entire organization has to adopt, right? We have to think about our business as agile, as fast-moving, as tolerant of change and constant change. And I think it makes us all move faster, deliver better, and respond to market conditions. So I totally get it, and it's really a fundamental shift. And we could have a whole conversation about just that aspect of this, and maybe we can do that for next Illuminate or whatever. But we'll keep on this sort of the managing of the Fieldglass app. Like, I'm curious. Maybe tell me a little bit about your methodology. Right now, you got to manage this. Observability is obviously the methodology you're adopting. Can you talk to me a little bit about what does observability at SAP look like? What do you do? What are the processes, and how are you sort of shifting that aspect of your business?
Yeah, absolutely. It's just as high in change as the development to legacy IT mindset, in my opinion. The alerting, monitoring, observability efforts in the past have been vastly owned by IT and had been always kind of from that viewpoint. So the business kind of is stuck to deal with our perspective on how operations is and what runtime is experiencing. With this shift into Kubernetes and now centralizing logging and all that observability in one place, we can extend those tools straight out to the end users now within the business and give them the ability to create the views that they want to see so that they can best do their jobs directly in the tools themselves without having to necessarily work through change process and whatnot. They have that ability to go through the tooling and get direct access to the data and get creative with the tooling that's available today.
Yeah, and I would add, when I think of observability, I think of turning on the lights, right? So now we've got the lights on, we have people empowered, self-empowered, as Dan was mentioning. And what are we really trying to do? Like, the system to become more resilient, more automated, healthier. We have awareness, right? So it allows us to shift from chasing things around, trying to figure out what the problem is, into a proactive health stance, essentially, right? And that's where we would start thinking about SLOs and SLIs and error budgets to move from that reactive stance to that proactive stance, and keep building into like an SRE culture and things you think about there, and really getting everybody involved where they produce the most value, towards supporting this. And it's, one mantra we have is design, build, run, right? So we're, cradle to grave is another talking point we talk about a lot, and really being accountable and responsible for what we deliver.
Yeah. One addition there as well, Bruno, is that we actually found ourselves recovering some staff that needed to operationally support our previous alerting monitoring systems by virtue of being able to move to a service-based offering. So it was really great to regain a little bit horsepower in the team as well.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And Michael, I really like that analogy. Observability is like turning on the lights. I think it's very fitting, the meaning of the word observability and the lights. And it's great, forgive me for stealing it sometimes in the future. I like that. And then, recovering, you're sort of alluding here that you're recovering some capacity on the team by consuming as a service, right? And, I imagine that that's happening across the enterprise as you're moving to the cloud, you're consuming as a service. As you're moving to tools like Sumo Logic, you're consuming as a service. Can you maybe, either one of you could touch a little bit on how do you think about the full stack, sort of a platform approach versus individual tools, which is probably what you used to have, like that's what you at least alluded just a second ago. How does that impact your sort of methodology and your process and your efficiency and effectiveness in observability?
There's nothing wrong with either approach, right? So, we're making biases, right? So it's like, do I want to piece this together component by component and build the mental model of like how we visualize our system. That can be very powerful for a team. And another approach is, hey, I really want something that understands already, what we probably have and has really high quality models with many dimensions already ready to go. And that, we find that to be the approach we like. So that's a holistic platform. And that allows us, that liberates us to focus on other issues, other problems to solve. When you're a company like at SAP, everyone there is super intelligent. It's like, okay, great. They can solve a lot of problems. What problems should we be solving that map towards, our values and our value streams? And, so the holistic view, kind of ready to go, or really ready to get us moving in the right direction, is always something we look for groups that are focused on delivering a solid holistic service. We have a high affinity for that. Internal services and offerings and external as well, I would say.
Got it. Any other thoughts in terms of, so we're now partnering, right? We're working together. Sumo Logic is providing our service to SAP to sort of manage this sort of migrating cloud, multi-cloud set of workloads. Any sort of thoughts about specific things that helped you kind of make that choice, that you find valuable in that new operating model when you kind of looked at our solutions that come to bear for observability?
I think for me, we found Sumo to be really attractive in that they had an excellent customer service model. They're very willing to help us through this exercise. We found the UI itself to be really easy to use, and most importantly for us and my team was the fact that all of the components necessary to collect this data and get it into the Sumo Logic tool was packaged and ready to go for us. So we could just pick that up and implement it into our system straight away. And that made, setup and use of the system very, very easy.
Got it. Great.
Yeah, I just, Sumo, like with the quality of the product and, it's just mega powerful, search and analytics engine, and with, that's just, it's a huge draw. As people get in there and get kind of sucked in there a little bit, we hear not infrequently, I wish I had more time to just spend just on this and just doing playing around with the data and figuring out, what to do with it. So it creates new opportunities for us, and that's highly appealing.
I appreciate that. I personally spend a lot of my time in the product because, I get nerdy with the data. I love our data. I love data generally. And so, and I always wish I had more time to do it, just like you described. Look, we're really excited to have you guys be a customer, and I look forward to hearing from you, your feedback as you continue to use Sumo. Please reach out to us. We're thrilled to partner, and we love learning from our customers. That has always been our methodology. So please keep the information flowing this direction. So to close, I would love to hear a little bit about what's next on your mind. What are you thinking kind of for the future of Fieldglass, for the future of methodology? Like, what are you thinking next year, 2 years from now, in terms of what are those challenges that you're going to want to work on and overcome?
Yeah, definitely. So we're making further transitions into the hyperscalers and actually now taking the on-prem workloads and transitioning them into those new frameworks. And getting through that is going to present an entirely new host of security and observability challenges for us. We're excited to see things like open telemetry come into larger view for us as we start to have higher levels of integration at a platform and application level that we need visibility into. And I think seeing our way through that with some additional AI and ML capabilities is going to be vastly important for us to help really focus in on the data that's most important to the business.
Excellent.
Yeah, so I think that plugs us in, like everything's plugged in there. And then one thing I'm excited about is further exploring sort of the human effect of this mass amount of data, right? And so there's a lot of data that isn't always information, doesn't always inform us. So really, getting a lot of the, any noise out of the system. Alert fatigue, for example, is some common theme. Like, what does it look like to have a super high signal, presentation of helping guide and scale our systems, utilizing all the technologies and implications Dan mentioned.
Outstanding. We should spend some time talking roadmap. We've got some thoughts about those topics, actually very near and dear to my own personal interests. So we will set up some time, but I'm really excited to have you guys here. It was a really interesting conversation. Thank you very much for spending your time with us. And I look forward to collaborating with you and learning from you. And good luck. And for everybody in the audience, hopefully this was a valuable session. And we look forward to the next conference, next Illuminate, hopefully in person.
Thanks for having us, Bruno.
Thanks for having us. Sounds great.